Last weekend it was British Motorsport's last big event of the season, the Autoglass British Rallycross Grand Prix, and we've got the key races coming up later in the programme. Martin Schanker, last year's winner, wasn't entered this year, so we'll take a moment or two to have a look at the man who carried most of the British hopes, the Grand Prix favourite, Will Gollop. What Nigel Mansell is to the Formula One British Grand Prix, Will Gollop is to the British Rallycross Grand Prix. Twice a winner and the man with the biggest fan club. And in the absence of his great rival Martin Schanker, Gollop was a clear favourite last weekend at Brands Hatch. This year, his distinctive MG Metro 6R4 was the fastest car in the British Championship, and Gollop won his first outright British title. And Brands Hatch, if the conditions were right, was his ideal venue.
The weather especially, it's going to probably stay greasy all day, and really you've got to have a fair bit of luck to stay out of trouble, I think, today.
You've had an emotional victory here in the past. How would you sum up your feelings for this event?
I love the event because it's the biggest British event that we have, and possibly nearly as big as some of the top European events. But the atmosphere here is very good.
But the sport will always have its perils. At Liddon Hill just a few weeks earlier, Gollop had his biggest ever accident. It wrote off his European Championship hopes and a lot more besides. Fortunately, the fire that followed his collision with the bank and Gary Baker was swiftly dealt with. Gollop was comparatively unhurt, but the valued car was a wreck.
Everything rested on this race to keep my chances of winning the European Championship going. And I just pushed too hard around the outside of Pat Durand to try and get up a place to try and see if I could win the race. And I got just caught up with Pat slightly, and at about 100 miles an hour we went off and hit the bank. Unfortunately, we bounced off the bank and came back and hit Gary Baker coming through as well, so it did a fair bit of damage to the car and to Gary's, unfortunately.
Is that one of the biggest you've had?
It's the biggest, yes.
Tell us about the car after that.
Basically, it could have been repaired. The body shell was quite bad, but it is repairable. But because of this event coming up, we've had to reshell it completely, and we'll repair the other shell when we get 5 minutes, as we say.
So how would you sum up the work that's been done and the hours that have been put in over the last few weeks?
Well, we had a quick reckon up, and it was 600 man-hours. It's a lot of time and effort.
Man-hours that seemed well spent as Gollop moved through the qualifying heats in which times are set to decide grid positions for the A, B or C finals. All was going well until this fifth heat. Gollop first off the line, well ahead of one of his big rivals, the Norwegian Tor Holm, but then problems as he coasts to a standstill on the outside of paddock. The problem, a broken rear differential, and there would follow a frantic 20 minutes to effect the repair and stay in the competition. Meanwhile, out on the track, bigger problems for Tor Holm, chasing Pauli Silvernoinen. Holm in the RS200 is a bit too ambitious here at the chicane. Jan Arthur Iverson leads, Holm gets it all wrong, then seems to have sorted things out, but no. A very big impact indeed at the chicane, and a rather eventful heat is brought to a premature end. And for two Grand Prix favourites, the action now switches from the track to the pits. For Gollop, no time to lose in changing that rear differential on the 6R4. For Tor Holm, a wave to the crowd indicates that he's okay, the car is another matter. Now, Will Gollop, and indeed rallycross drivers in general, don't sit back in the motorhome at moments of crisis like this. And the British champion has got the helmet and driving gloves off. Spanners are what he needs for the next 20 minutes. But they're also a philosophical breed, swift to accept the inevitable. And Tor Holm, a top 3 finisher here last year, has decided that his car needs rather more than 20 minutes attention, and he's out of the British Grand Prix.
These cars, when you keep your foot in it, they pull themselves out of it, but they are some beasts to drive, and I kept it the 2 first curves. I didn't manage quite the 3rd one, and that's where I hit the rubber wall.
Very hefty impact. Are you okay?
Oh, the safety in the car are perfect, so I am quite okay. Nothing the matter with me, but the car, we have some winter work on the car.
Yeah. Did you realize immediately that the car would be beyond repair for today?
Oh yes, I didn't even have to go and have a look. I've crashed these cars before, and I know how it feels. This one was a heavy one.
Meanwhile, in Gollop's pit, the deadline is met and the work is done. The rear differential is changed with a couple of minutes to spare, and Gollop is now on course for his last heat and a chance at that fastest time.
What's the panic been like in the last few minutes?
Murder. we're not sort of back into the quick changing of things because the car's been so reliable. You get out of the practice of changing things quickly, so we're a little bit rusty on it at the moment.
I think a lot of people would be surprised to see such a hands-on involvement from the driver as well, but it's always been like that, isn't it?
Well, it's always been like that, yeah. I mean, I love working on cars anyway, so I might as well get my hands dirty, mightn't I?
But his supreme qualification is behind the wheel, and in the heat that followed, Gollop was dominant, urging his car on to the fastest time of the day. Will Gollop, mechanic, racing driver, favourite of the Brands Hatch crowd, he'd be on pole position for the Autoglass British Rallycross Grand Prix. And the A, B and C finals coming up later. In fact, shortly after Rallycross Grand Prix, very big field, qualifying through a series of heats, the fastest going into the A final and the next fastest going into the B and C finals. But the winners of those B and C finals, well, they can still make further progress in the competition, so they're very important races. Especially important for one of the British sport's top names, who was definitely out of luck in last year's final. The British Rallycross Grand Prix of last year was a tale of disappointment, not only for Will Gollop, who strayed wide on the knife edge while chasing Martin Shanker, but also for John Welch, approaching hard behind. This was Gollop's moment of misjudgment. Most of the field managed to avoid him, but not John Welch in the X-Track Vauxhall Astra, and while Shanker went on to victory, they were both out of the race. The experienced Welch took a while to recover fully from the back injuries he sustained there, and Brands Hatch 1991, his Astra, is still taking a battering. An A finalist last year, now he's trying to force his way through the C and B finals. This was the start of his problems early in the day.
We went out for an early practice while it was slippery to find the limit of adhesion, to see how quick you can go. The type of tyres we were on, we wanted to get out very quickly to test the suspension setting from yesterday and try again, but driver error, I think.
In a later heat, trying to improve his position, another mistake at a similar place on the Cooper Straight. And after that, the 1985 British Rallycross Grand Prix winner is required to qualify from the upcoming C final, which is described by Murray Walker.
John Welch on the right of the front row has to win this C final to stay in the running. But one of the Astra's cooling fans has stopped and water's streaming out of a cracked radiator. It's going to be a hot race for the 1985 winner in more ways than one. With John's 650 horsepower Vauxhall on the front row of the grid, it's the red four-wheel drive Metro of Dutchman Hans to pass. Then John Fernandez Metro and Roger Newbold's amazing little Renault Turbo. Row 3, Norwegian Bertil Persson's mighty Audi Quattro and Dave Metcalf's little Vauxhall Nova. And in row 5, the incredible one-legged Eivind Rosnes in his 6-litre two-speed Chevrolet. 4.5 laps, in car with John Welch, number 12, to pass creeps forward, and that's forbidden. So, the start is aborted. Get back, says the marshal. Uh-oh, that's the warning flag. Don't do that again or you're out. So, in car with Welch again, 650 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, and it's go. John fights the power. It's a great start from Fernandez, but Welch leads. Into paddock. In car with Welch, onto the infield. And to pass loses it. Fernandez challenges as the Dutchman recovers, down into the S's. And number 34, Newbold in the Renault 5, is 4th. Rosnes bonnet flapping, look in the Chevrolet up Hillwood Hill, and Penty Sinkler loses the Volvo. Into Langley's gap, Welch leads, to pass 2nd, Fernandez 3rd, Rosnes 4th, Newbold 5th, and Persson is in 6th position. Along the knife edge, 100 miles an hour, and Bertil Persson, number 33 in the yellow Audi, is on the move. Up to 5th, past Roger Newbold. Up to Hoppy's drop. Back onto the tarmac. 2nd gear, 3rd, 4th, up to 110 miles an hour. In car with Welch. Down to the chicane. Back onto the circuit proper, in 5th gear. Up to 120 miles an hour. Then back off for paddock turn. And the red light comes on. He's overheating. Now, see that bit of yellow tape on John's steering wheel? That's to show him when the front wheels are pointing straight. into Druids and into the S's. It's a 4-car fight for 4th position. Rosnes, Persson, Newbold, Mike Mantell, and that big Chevrolet is incredible. Across the knife edge, Welch leads in the Vauxhall Astra. Then it's to pass in the red Metro. Second in car with Welch. Cool, calm, collected, on target to qualify for the B final by winning. And it looks like the overheating's not worrying Welch too much. Just adjust the turbo boost there. The red light is still on, and that's a warning not to overdo it. Flame from the turbocharger overrun. John is out on his own, double British champion, not the best of seasons for him so far. He's driving an overheating engine with no time to fix it before the B final if he keeps going to win. And Tapas is pushing. Tapas is off into the Armco. Now, can he stay second? Because Fernandez is closing and Persson is right behind in the Quattro. There they are. And what a battle for 5th. Rosnes in the Chevrolet with the hand throttle. Then it's Newbold, Mantell and Dave Metcalf's little Nova. Over the knife edge. Down to Hoppy's drop. And John Welch is into the second gear chicane. In car with Welch. Up to Paddock. And that must be steam coming out of the back from the radiator as he goes down, tumble downhill. In car, that light's still on. Back onto the tarmac at Halewood Hill. Up to the right-hander of the chicane, it's to pass Fernandez and Persson. Now look at this, Rosnes 5th, Newbold, Mantell, and Dave Metcalf's 1600cc Nova, and someone has thumped the tyres. Rosnes runs wide, Newbold goes up into 5th position. Metcalf nearly off, up into Druids. So it's Newbold 5th, then it's Rosnes. There's Newbold in the Renault 5, there's Rosnes, followed by Mantell and Metcalf. Langley's gap. Newbold is pulling away, and that is Sinclair's Volvo in 9th position. 266 is Mike Mantell, challenging Rosnes for 6th as they go into Hoppy's drop. He's really pushing the 2-wheel drive Chevrolet in front of him. The Chevrolet's got loose bodywork. And this is the last lap, the chicane to pass second, Fernandez 3rd, Persson in 4th position. Into Paddock, down, tumble downhill. There's Fernandez, number 3 in the red and yellow Metro. It looks as though he is going to finish in 3rd place. Persson's not going to be able to catch him. In car with John Welch, almost home to win as he comes out of Druids into Langley's gap, along the knife edge. It's victory for the Astra with a back rank start in the B final. To pass, second, Fernandez in 3rd position, Persson 4th, Newbold in 5th place. And it's all action for 6th. Rosnes, Mantell, Metcalf, Sinclair. And Rosnes gets it, but it's no B final for him. Now here's a replay of the start. John Welch, watch his gear changes. Starts in 1st. Second, 3rd, 4th, back into 3rd, and now 2nd for Paddock. Terrific stuff. And John Welch tours in, he's won, a job well done. 5 very different cars, Astra, Metro, Audi, Renault 5 and Chevrolet in the top 6. And that's the winner. On the grid for the B final, John Welch's battered Astra, lining up for another 4.5 laps, and he's got to win again to qualify for the 1991 British Rallycross Grand Prix. Front row of the grid, Mark Flaherty and Norwegian veteran Jan Arthur Iverson. Dennis Biggerstar from County Down, a 1983 winner, Sweden's Ole Arneson next. Row 3, John Maloney from Limerick with John Cross's Ford Fiesta. Tor Holmes' shattered Ford is out, and John Welch has got it all to do from the back row. All set. And Welch gets a rocket start. He's blasting through. Up to 4th at Paddock. Here they are. Iverson leads, Flaherty 2nd, Arneson 3rd, Welch is 4th. Down, tumble downhill. In car with Welch. Arneson's Quattro ahead, 3rd position. Up Halewood Hill. Iverson leads. Flaherty in the blue Metro second as they go round Druids. Iverson nearly losing it. Arneson in the Quattro is third. Welch is fourth. Across the knife edge, power down. It's very slippery there. Down to Hoppy's drop. And Flaherty in the blue Metro is challenging Iverson. And he hits the tyres. Welch is with Arneson and the tyres have hit Arneson. Look at his bodywork. We're following him in car with John Welch. The Audi is damaged. Into the chicane and Flaherty runs wide. Arneson and Welch go through to second and third. Flaherty's got a problem. He's touring out. His race is over and at paddock it's Arneson versus Welch sliding over the surface. As they go through the S's, it's a tremendous fight for second place, and remember, only the winner goes through to the Group A final. So, out of the S's, up Hillwood, Druids, Iverson leads, Arneson second, Welch third, it's Ford RS 200, Audi second, Vauxhall third, through Langley's Gap, in car with Welch, across the knife edge at 100 miles an hour, into Hoppies. First, second and third together, Iverson, Arneson, Welch, Norway, Sweden, Britain. Biggerstaff is in fourth position. Maloney is in fifth place. We're in car with Welch. This is the chicane. It's Arneson ahead. And look at Biggerstaff and Maloney in the Metros. Tumble downhill coming next, out of paddock. And there are the two Irishmen, Biggerstaff and Maloney, fighting in the Metros for fourth position. Out of Druids, Jan Arthur Iverson is 60 years old. He's driving his son's RS Turbo and he's flying across the knife edge. So is number 32, 37-year-old Ole Arneson from Varmland, using all his 650 horsepower. Hoppy's drop, first, second and third together. Iverson, Arneson, Welch, in car with Welch. Remember, winner takes all. The red light is on, he's still overheating. The chicane. So, 2.5 seconds covers the first 5. Look at Arneson in the Audi. It's a big car. He slides very wide indeed. Into the S's, closing up on Iverson. Welch is right behind the Audi in third place. Into Druids again, and Arneson is really sliding it. Iverson hits the tyres. He's offline and Arneson goes through into the lead. Now maybe Iverson missed a gear. Anyway, Arneson leads. Welch in third place is right up with Iverson now, so it's the Audi leading, number 22, the Ford is in second place. Then it's John Welch's Astra in third position, but he's having to watch the temperature still. Into the chicane, Iverson is offline again. Oh, and he's hit the tyres. That gives Welch a chance to close up, but it looks as though Iverson's keeping the power on. Look at his bodywork. Welch right up alongside the Ford as they go into the S's, and right behind them, Dennis Biggerstaff is up with Welch in the blue and white Metro. Druids, Arneson is clearing off. If he wins, he's going to qualify for the Grand Prix. Along the knife edge at 110 miles an hour, Arneson wins the B final. Iverson is second, Welch is third, Biggerstaff is in fourth position, and a happy Ole Arneson motors home, and John Maloney is out. Now, a replay of the start from John Welch's point of view. Fire the cannon and it's blast off. Past Maloney, past Biggerstaff. Fourth by the first corner, into paddock, and down to the S's. And here's a replay of Arneson taking the lead. Iverson thumps the tyres, misses a gear. Arneson surges past the Ford to win the B final. He tours in a very part-worn Audi to prepare for the final race, the Grand Prix. Arneson's time there is 15 seconds faster than John Welch's C final victory, so the Swede seems to have the measure of brands in the brutal Audi Quattro.
So for Arneson, a few running repairs in the minutes that remain to the big race, the A final. For John Welch, regrets, but he had a go.
It's just a shame. Last year we were laying 5th or 6th, I think. Today we're in the B final, but they're a nice type of people in the B final.
And that B final, very competitive. But what were the problems that you had in there?
Well, when we got run in the back of by Rob Gibson, he broke the radiator and we couldn't stop all of the water coming out of the hole. So it only really had a 6 or 7 life on the water temperature. But on the 4th lap, it then got too hot and the water temperature went up and it went on to 3 cylinders. From that point on, I just followed it and watched them, really.
And filling up in there as well with...
Yeah, it's a bit fumy, and I didn't know if it was coming from the exhaust, from the radiator. It's one of those things. I'm getting too old for all this. I just want a nice, easy race.
We'll have a nice, easy time watching the A final now. Who do you fancy for that?
Obviously, Will's got to be the favourite, but as the dampness is coming down, it's coming out of the ground, the advantage that Steve Palmer and the normally aspirated cars have is the instant response, and what you'll probably see is that Will go across to the distance, and if Steve or a couple of other Metros are that close, they'll be snapping all over his heels, and they have it very easy. Will has the turbo lag and the boost to put up with.
We'll see if your prophecies are correct. It's going to be an interesting final.
Be nice to watch.
A big crowd at Brands Hatch eager for that final, the top names in the British sport, and we'll have it for you at around about 2:40. Remember that we've got live rugby league coming up. Brands Hatch, the Autoglass British Rallycross Grand Prix, and coming up in a moment, the A final that decides the top prize in the British sport. Before that, a bit of action from the rest of a busy Brands Hatch weekend. The Vauxhall Nova Challenge, a support competition in the Autoglass British Rallycross Grand Prix, but nowhere were the cars so evenly matched, typified by the paddock bend scrabble for advantage in the main final. 4 or 5 abreast, they all somehow got round in a shower of wing mirrors, but by this time Mark Renison, the former double British Rallycross champion, was already pulling away from the field. And Renison would go on to take an emphatic victory in what was for him a one-off outing in the category. Some distinguished names behind him: Paul Coney, the reigning Vauxhall Nova Challenge champion, and Jeff Allen with all his experience in the SO British Touring Car Championship. A little earlier in the Nova B final, look out for car number 7, driven by Liz Linford, whose husband, a Silverstone Rally School instructor, gave her the drive here to celebrate her 40th birthday. And the present was duly unwrapped inside a couple of laps at Paddock Hill Bend. Happy birthday, Liz, shaken but unhurt in what looked like the biggest accident of the day. And the car, incidentally, owned by John Welch, whose own misfortune we were following a short time ago. But for Liz Linford, life begins at 40. And so did the build-up for the race that would decide the Autoglass British Grand Prix, and a form guide on Steve Palmer, who'd share the front row with Will Gollop. From an earlier heat, this is Palmer in the yellow and black MG Metro 6R4 against Pekka Rantanen and Trevor Hopkins. Murray Walker picks up the story.
Out of paddock, Steve Palmer leads Pekka Rantanen and Trevor Hopkins. And Hopkins, number 2, goes past Rantanen up into second place, up to Druids. So it's Palmer leading, Hopkins second, Rantanen in third position. Metro, Ford RS200, Ford RS200. Through Langley's Gap along the knife edge. And number 2, 42-year-old Trevor Hopkins from Ashford, who built the non-tarmac part of the circuit, chases Steve Palmer into Hoppy's Drop, the corner that Trevor made. There it is. And into the chicane, Steve Palmer leads. It's a 3.8-litre non-turbo engine in Steve's Metro. That's good for throttle response, but there's less power. But it's enough for Steve to lead. Here he is. Down, tumble downhill. The 1990 British champion, followed by Trevor Hopkins, 4 times British champion, and Pekka Rantanen from Finland. And Hopkins is pushing Steve Palmer for the lead. Look at the blue and white RS200. Out of Druids. Palmer leads, Hopkins drifting wide, second place, Pekka Rantanen third. But it is a copybook drive by Steve Palmer. He's smooth, he's calm, he is unflurried, he is commanding from the front. keeping it nicely on the circuit. It's in the apex.